Hey, what's up guys? Warren here from SA Drama Academy, and what I want to do today is discuss one of the most commonly asked questions that we receive, and that is, how do I get endorsements? It is huge, and I understand it and also don't understand it, but I really do understand it. Endorsements are really cool. It is such a cool thing to be associated with a company or a brand. But with saying that, there are some really important things that you need to know and some important things that you need to just check off your checklist and make sure that you are ready before applying for an endorsement. So to give you a bit of a background, I am with Yamaha Drums, Minor Cymbals, ProMark and Evans, Drumtax, AKG. I love those brands to bits. They just work so well together. It's such a cool thing when you get all your gear just kind of making it happen, and they just speak to each other and it just works. So over the few years of being with other brands and changing my brands, it happens. You finally get to that point where all the brands that you are using just work. So let's jump into some of the things that you need to know and just some of my advice, if it means anything in terms of endorsements. So let's jump into it and check out a few points that you can check off. So the first one, what I've noticed is a lot of drummers aren't patient. And again, I really do get it. I was like that. When I was younger, I tried to push or jump into endorsements where I was nowhere near ready. At that stage, I shouldn't have even been focusing on endorsements. I should have been focusing on my craft, focusing on my skill, focusing on building my brand, my profile. So many other things I should have been focusing on. And by focusing on those things, endorsements would have come a whole lot easier. So I tried to push the door open when I wasn't ready. That was many years ago. I was probably about 16 years old, still studying music, still at college. And I tried to apply for an endorsement with ProMark International. And I remember putting together the most cringy recordings, didn't have anything to offer. And I went for it and I tried. And a month or two later, you can imagine that ProMark came back to me and they said, "Thank you very much, but you're not quite ready for an endorsement with us yet. Keep working and keep gaining your skill or whatever it is. Keep working on your craft. And later on, maybe it'll happen." And that is so true. Obviously, at that stage, I was like, bummer, but I completely understand why they said that, because they saw that I wasn't quite ready for an endorsement yet. And instead of trying to push for an endorsement, just focus on building your career, focus on building your profile, focus on getting better as a drummer, focus on getting more high profile gigs, whatever it may be. What that really highlighted for me was there are so many areas that I should be working on before trying for an endorsement, so many more important areas. So the first thing is be patient, don't rush it. There are drummers that contact me or contact us through the SA Drummer platform, whatever it may be. How do I get endorsement? So the first thing is just be patient and make sure you're ready. So when we get these questions, what I've noticed, with no judgment whatsoever, because we've all been there, some of the drummers that contact us, you can clearly see that they are not quite ready for an endorsement yet. Maybe their playing is not quite there yet. Maybe their profile is not quite there yet. And at the end of the day, you've got to try and put it across to them very nicely that there are other areas that they need to focus on before even worrying about an endorsement. The first thing is patience. Instead of putting your mind so strongly towards endorsements and all your time and your effort, just focus on your craft, focus on building your profile. And the beauty of that is, when that is built, endorsements will naturally come a lot easier, because then you have something to offer. And that brings me to the next point, is having something to offer. That is so huge. With an endorsement, it is a business transaction. Yes, it's cool, it's a relationship, but at the end of the day, it's almost like another job. Even with my current endorsements, it is a current job. I've got to make sure that I can provide content. I've got to make sure that I can provide those companies sales. So there's a lot that goes to an endorsement that I don't think newer drummers or younger drummers really understand. It's not just about getting with Yamaha drums, I get my free gear and I play Yamaha and that's it. There is so much more that goes to an endorsement, and the best way I can think about it, and even some of my drummer friends that are endorsed have said the same thing, an endorsement is like another job. And it really, really is true. I've got to put time aside and think about, okay, how can I market ProMark? How can I market Yamaha? How can I market all these things you got to think about? And it takes work now to sit and make content for those companies, make cool things, make ways where you can try and push the brand. So there is a lot more that comes to it. And I think that's one important thing to really know if you're thinking about rushing to an endorsement. If you're still practicing, you're still building your career, or you're still building your social media, or you're still building your marketing strategies, whatever it may be, focus on those things. Because when you get an endorsement, there is actually a lot more work that gets put on your plate in order to keep those companies happy and in order to build that relationship with those companies. So that's definitely the first step. Be patient and just worry about your craft for now. Building your skill, building your profile, getting more gigs, getting higher profile gigs. Once those things are in place, you're going to find that endorsements are going to come to you. Or if you do apply for an endorsement, or you speak to a company about playing their brand and being endorsed by their brand, it's just going to be so much easier when you have all these things to offer them. The next point is make sure that you are playing the brands that you would like to endorse. Again, we get questions from drummers, or even some of my drummer friends will contact me and say, hey man, can you get me with ProMark and Evans and Yamaha? And then I look at their current gear and they're not even playing one of those brands. Where that becomes quite awkward is if you now, let's take Vinyl Cymbals for example. Let's say for me, I'm going to go to Vinyl Cymbals now to put a good word in for you, and I say, hey man, he's got this cool drummer, he wants to play vinyl. And then they immediately go, okay, cool, let me go check this guy out. They check him out and they're like, dude, he doesn't even play vinyl. It gets really weird. Or if you contact them yourself and you say, listen, I want to play your brand, I want to be part of vinyl, I want an endorsement. They go onto your profile and there's nothing of vinyl on there. It gets really weird, and I'm sure you can imagine why it gets weird, because why are you contacting vinyl if you don't play their cymbals, or you've never played their cymbals, or whatever it may be, or if you're playing another cymbal brand. So that is a big point. If you are going to contact a company, make sure that you are playing that brand, or that that brand is somewhere in your life, because they are going to ask you what is a current stick brand, cymbal brand, whatever you're applying for. They are definitely going to ask you what is a current brand that you are playing. So there are some exceptions to this. For example, I was with one cymbal brand and I contacted another cymbal brand after many years. I was endorsing this cymbal brand A, for a long time. And then I went and spoke to another cymbal brand because I wanted to join them. The reason behind that is sometimes you get to the point where certain gear doesn't quite work for you, or you get to the point where you outgrow that gear, and that happens. And that happened to me. I was playing the cymbal brand for a long time, was seeing so much about this current cymbal brand, and I'm sure you've guessed it, it's Vinyl Cymbals. So I'm still with them, and there was just everything about Vinyl that I loved. The diversity in their cymbals, the range they had to offer. There were sounds that I wanted that I could not get from my previous company. They didn't offer that type of cymbal. And that is the exception sometimes, but that also is easier when you are already endorsed, where you go, okay, cool, I want to grow, or there's a sound that I'm looking for that my current company doesn't offer. There, I completely understand why you might want to move on. So if you are with, let's say, Sabian Cymbals, for example, and you do want to contact Vinyl, have a reason behind why you want to move your cymbal brand, or why you want to change cymbal brands. So now the previous point was contact the companies that you already play. But also, if you don't already play it and you have a really good reason behind why you want to play their brand, rather than the brand that you're currently playing, I believe that is 100% fine as well. So when I moved from my previous cymbal brand to Vinyl Cymbals, I had a really good reason behind it. Immediately spoke to him, told him, listen, I love the range. There's a sound that I'm hearing that I really want and I need to round off my sound. And unfortunately at the moment, as much as I love this brand that I'm endorsing, this other cymbal brand that I've been endorsing for such a long time, I don't necessarily want to leave the brand. They are just not offering me. They don't have the range that I am looking for. And Vinyl Cymbals has that exact sound that I'm looking for. And maybe when I started endorsing the previous cymbal brand, I didn't want that sound. That sound wasn't a necessity for me at that stage. I had a reason, a very strong reason behind it. If the current brand that you're playing is not a brand that you are in love with, and maybe you can't really afford to play the brand that you really want to play, that is a strong case, and I feel that is fine. But make sure you have those answers in check before you contact the company. So another good point is don't be too pushy. If you feel that you have to be too pushy, then you are definitely not ready. Because if you got to push it, that shows you don't really have something to offer you. A drummer that nailed it was a Lander drummer, Adam Timonaro. We had a podcast episode with him, with SA Drummer, I think last year. And his point was, if you've got to push for an endorsement, or if you have to now go and ask the company, please endorse me, maybe you're not ready. And I totally agree with that. Like I said, there are moments even in your professional career, especially if you are endorsed already, sometimes you have to contact the brand if you are endorsed, because what happens is that brand, if they see that you are endorsed already and they really want you to come on board with them, they aren't going to speak to you because that is interfering with each other. That brand's going to interfere with that brand. So if you aren't endorsed yet and you have to now push and ask and beg and plead for the endorsement, that shows that you aren't ready. So my experience was, when moving over to Minor Cymbals, very interesting. I know how the brands work. I know how they don't want to step on each other's toes. I remember a few years ago, I actually had the opportunity to join Minor, where it was offered, and immediately retracted because, as they said, oh, we'd love you to be a Minor. Oh no, let's not mess with the other brand. Does that make sense? So that just shows how they don't want to step on each other's toes. And when I did eventually join Minor, speaking to the guys, it actually came out that they were wanting to offer me an endorsement for quite a while, but they didn't. There are times, if you are endorsed already, you might have to move on or might have to contact the company, because even though you have something to offer, they might not contact you because you're already involved. But if you don't have an endorsement and you have to push, you're probably not ready. Another strong factor, have something to show, because at the end of the day, they want to see what you're working on. And the beauty of it is, you don't always have to be this waxed, famous, fully profiled drummer in order to get an endorsement. I find what they like as well is show them that you have potential for growth. Have something that you can show them that you are working on. If you are just in your bedroom still practicing, or you're not doing much, practicing is really great, by the way, so don't get me wrong. But if you aren't working on anything solid, anything substantial, it's going to be very difficult to even show the company where you are going. What are you doing to build your career? What are you doing where they are piggybacking on, where if that becomes successful, that they are going to get success out of it as well? Another big one is have your content in place. That is massive, especially in today's time. You should have content in place, videos, pictures, stuff that these brands can see. So when you contact them and they don't know who you are yet, what are you going to show them? That is a big thing. If you say, listen, I want an endorsement with you, I want to play your brand and I want to market your brand and I want to give exposure to your brand, and they type your name in Google and it's nowhere, you can imagine what's going to happen. That is so huge. Again, like honing your craft, or rather putting in the time to hone your craft, put in time to get your content game up. What better way than for a company to check you out than social media? I mean, even stalkers can check you out on social media. A really powerful story was, a good friend of mine came to me one day, hey man, can you get me with that company? I'd love to have that endorsement with that company. And this drummer was playing for quite a big artist. So naturally you think, because he's playing for a big artist, he's gonna naturally just get the endorsement handed to him, and it does not work that way. So I went to go fetch some gear, and I said to the guys, hey man, I've got this cool drummer friend, he plays for a really big artist, he's really keen on joining the brand, do you think you guys can look into it? And the first thing that they said was, what's his name? And I was like, it's so-and-so. Immediately went on Google, so-and-so. And he said, hey man, I can't find anything of him. There's no content, there's no profile, there's no anything. He's not active. So I responded to saying, like, I know he doesn't have these things, but was not active on social media, or is not active on his profiling in terms of being on the internet, but he plays for this big artist. Is that not what you want? And the response was yes and no. That is really cool, but this was such a cool thing. This really made me kind of learn about endorsements all over again. He said, if you take, for example, a drummer that plays for a big artist, like your friend, he plays for a big artist, all cool. He told me he plays really big shows, there's lots of people. That is cool. But if he's playing this massive show, right, and we're gonna endorse him sticks, and we want him to promote that brand, that person, the 100th row in the stadium, sitting watching, cannot see what stick he's playing. That logo is too small. So essentially what we want as a company is a drummer being at a gig, enjoying the drummer. After the gig, he goes home, searches the drummer's name or searches the artist to find the drummer, gets the drummer, goes onto his profile, sees, oh, Promark. He plays Promark. I love this drummer. I also want to play Promark. That is how it works. And that made so much sense to me. Do you have videos? Really nice videos, clear videos, not a video from a Nokia 3110, if that even has a camera. That's just an example. Do you have some really good content out there that these guys can see? They can type in your name, boom, you come up, they can kind of learn about you as well. So regardless if you are a very successful drummer, playing for a really big artist, they still want to see what you are working on and be involved with that. So make sure your content is on Instagram, Facebook, have it on there. So when you do go for an endorsement, you can make a cool little press kit, have your links, send it through. Those guys can click on the links, see everything that you are doing, and that way they can also see how you are trying to grow and where your vision is as a drummer. One of the most important ones, I think the most important one, is if you are looking to get an endorsement because you just want free gear, you have to think again. That is a big no-no if you are just looking for the free gear. It is not just about getting free gear. So if you contact a company and you don't have a reason for joining them, and your reason is, it's really cool, free gear is nice, I can guarantee you, you're not gonna get very far. If you are asking anybody to help you get an endorsement, or you're asking, how do I get an endorsement, and your reason for getting an endorsement is free gear, you are most definitely not ready, because you've got to do some more research, and that's why we're doing this video of how endorsements work. You've got to be really, really, really in tune with how they work before you try and apply for them. You know that you're only trying to get an endorsement because you want some discount, or you want some free gear, or whatever it may be. You definitely are not ready, and you should not contact the company if that is what's in your mind. So I really hope this video helped. If you are asking how do you get endorsements and you weren't sure if you're ready or not, I truly hope that this gave you a bit more of an understanding of how to gauge if you're ready or not. The most important thing, instead of focusing on endorsement, focus on building yourself as a drummer, focus on improving as a drummer, focus on building your brand as a drummer. And if you get those things down, endorsements are going to come so much easier. What we're going to be doing in the next video is showing you how you can go about getting an endorsement in South Africa, whether it's internationally or through the local distributors. We're going to go over those points. I want to share with you how I did it when I first started applying for endorsements, and a bit of background and history on how I grew my endorsements and how the endorsements eventually came to me instead of me going to them. So that's going to be quite a cool video. So if you enjoyed this and you feel that you are ready, definitely like the video, subscribe to the channel. Definitely turn on the bell, because next week we're going to release that video discussing how to go about it, and you don't want to miss that if you feel that you are ready. Go and practice drums, build your brand, improve as a drummer, and that is the most important thing. See you later, guys.